What's happening, fam? L.A.R movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. A link will be in the description box below. As usual, I'm cold, excuse me, right? This video is entitled It's Wrong to Deal Drugs, but how come it's not wrong to create the drug trade? See, people talk about mass incarceration, the war on drugs, drug dealers, the crime and death toll of fighting over stuff. And like I said, it's absolutely wrong to be a drug dealer. But I don't see society as much in an uproar of hating drug dealers. They don't have the same outrage when it comes to creating a drug trade. And what do I mean by that, if y'all don't know? Who do these drug dealers get their drugs from? You see, this country, our United States government, has been in the drug trade for a very, very long time. So when people say, oh man, you got to lock these people up, they're out here dealing drugs. Yeah, you should lock them up for dealing drugs. But shouldn't you lock people up for creating a drug trade? Am I missing something? They always say, go up the food chain, higher and higher. But when people start getting around government positions, it's a problem. Oh, and let's get into this. So, they can bust a guy on the street. They can do all this surveillance and use your taxpayer dollars, and we're getting these guys off the streets. But you can't go through a tanker at your dock. You can't bust an 18-wheeler at the when they what you call it, at like a way station or a checkpoint. It's too many. So how many? Let me get this right. It's too many 18-wheelers that's coming through that got drugs on it. It's too many. Too many cars coming through checkpoints. Can't do it. We don't have enough manpower. And it's too many. It's too much cargo at the docks to check it all. It's too much. And I find it odd that, when you could actually cut the snake off at the head, all of a sudden, it's too much work. I don't know what to do. But you can track a guy all on a corner. He's been selling drugs. We got to get him. He's going to lead us to a bigger fish and a bigger fish. No, he's not. The war on drugs hasn't bore any fruit from big fish in all these 50 years. So, and the crazy part about it, I remember being a child watching the L.A.R program, and they used to have these statistics on, where the drugs were made, what countries made what cities were the hub cities. And this is when I was a kid, and now all of a sudden, which cartels was behind which merchandise, but you just can't stop it, huh? Not to mention, the war on drugs. I did a video about that a long time ago, because that was after the Vietnam Kennedy thing, when the government said, they created the drug trade basically to combat the civil rights movement. And then got the crack era in the 80s because it was like a rejuvenation, right? So, because, nobody asks, everybody knows where the drugs are coming from, who makes them, who's in on them. When people talk about stuff like your drug dealer on the street, but they don't talk about Iran Contra. You know, one of the reasons why my people aren't really hooked on heroin like that is because we already seen how that plays out, because that's what happened in Vietnam in the 60s. That's what happened. Before cocaine, before crack, it was heroin. We like, no thank you. Seen that one before. You know, go even further back. Prohibition. Who was that? When they had the little movie about Elliot Ness. In that movie, when alcohol was illegal and they were bootleggers and whatnot, they was like, where were they making all the alcohol? In the movie, it was in the post office, and everybody knew that. They made it at night. They're just in the movie, right? Could be real life, could not be real life. But I'm just saying, just using it as an example. But here's the other thing: we don't demonize the things about like drug runners. You realize people like me are the stereotype for a drug dealer, but they made a sport out of drug runners. That's what NASCAR is. That's what the fast cars came from running away from the cops. Drug transport. They made a sport out of that. So on one end, you say being a drug dealer is bad. On the other end, when you change the color of who's dealing and transporting it, it's a American pastime. You can create an American pastime out of it. So if is drug dealing bad? Yes. Well, what about these other things? You're not being real right now. Like, if being a drug dealer is bad, what's up with all these marijuana dispensaries popping up? I mean, honestly, you would have to been dabbling in weed a very long time and be practicing to get your grades right and your strands right, and been holding on to all of your drug bust over the years to even have enough product to sell, to even have enough product to reproduce, to have enough. Where did you get the land to just grow? Government grow houses. Who got the best weed? The government. How the government wind up having the best weed if the government have a war on drugs? And if being a drug dealer is bad, how is it okay that the government is a drug dealer? If being a drug dealer is bad and the heroin / opioid crisis is real, how come they want to have all of these clinics, or they give these OD patients a clinic to get high, provided by who? Basically the government, right? What the hell? And I said this a long time ago, same thing Eddie Griffin was talking about. If you go to Afghanistan, you're going for opium. Not opium is in Afghanistan and Mexico. I don't remember Mexico growing opium. Maybe I'm tripping, but I don't remember that. I don't. The Panama Canal, Escobar, working with the government, right? See, if a drug dealer is bad, the people who create the drug trade have to be worse. And the people who create the drug trade, for some odd reason, everybody is so people play as if it's so mysterious. You don't know who's the shadow behind the figure of a shadow. Whatever, man. You know, because if it was about right and wrong and the good guys and bad guys, how are the good guys getting paid from the bad guys? How can you be a bad guy and pay off the good guys to arrest somebody else? You know, so, you know, this is my opinion. Like, if being a, you know, yes, being a drug dealer is bad, but we're not looking at the whole picture, because the other part don't seem to be bad right now. That's just my thoughts on that. I'm out.